Let me tell you something today that can change the way you see your worth. When a man takes you for granted, it does not mean you are not valuable. It means he is blind to your value. And when someone is blind, no amount of explaining will make them see. That is where the power of ignoring comes in. Ignoring is not about revenge. It is not about pride. It is about self-respect. It is about choosing peace over pain, strength over weakness, and dignity over desperation. The moment you stop chasing someone who does not appreciate you, you begin to reclaim your power. See, when you always show up, always forgive, always understand, and always stay, some people start to believe you will never leave. They get comfortable, they stop trying, they stop caring, they stop valuing what you bring into their life. And slowly, they start treating your love like it is ordinary. But your love is not ordinary. Your loyalty is not common. Your heart is not replaceable. When you step back, when you go silent, when you stop explaining, something powerful happens. The person who ignored your value begins to feel your absence. Silence becomes louder than your words ever were. Your absence becomes heavier than your presence ever was. Ignoring someone who took you for granted teaches them a lesson that words never can. It teaches them what life feels like without you. It forces them to face the reality of what they lost. And sometimes only loss can open someone's eyes. But listen carefully. You are not ignoring them to make them come back. You are ignoring them to move forward. You are choosing yourself. You are choosing healing. You are choosing growth. You are choosing peace. When you stop reacting, you start rising. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop begging, you start becoming. You step into your confidence. You rediscover your worth. You realize that you deserve someone who sees you, values you, and protects your heart. Let me tell you something that can change your life if you truly understand it. When a man takes you for granted, it does not mean you are not valuable. It means he does not recognize your value. There is a big difference. Sometimes people get so used to your presence, your love, your care, and your sacrifices that they stop seeing how special you really are. They begin to think you will always be there, no matter how they treat you. That is when respect slowly disappears and your feelings start getting ignored. You keep giving chances. You keep forgiving. You keep explaining your pain, hoping one day he will finally understand. But the truth is, the more you chase, the more he pulls away. The more you beg for attention, the less important you seem. Not because you are weak, but because some people only value what they are afraid to lose. When everything is easy, they stop trying. When love is guaranteed, effort disappears. This is where the power of ignoring begins. Ignoring does not mean you stop caring. It means you start caring about yourself more. It means you decide that your peace is more important than constant stress, overthinking, and emotional pain. Ignoring is choosing silence instead of arguments. It is choosing distance instead of disappointment. It is choosing dignity instead of desperation. When you stop reacting, something powerful happens. The energy shifts, the control returns to you. Suddenly, the person who once ignored your value begins to feel your absence. The messages stop. The calls stop. Your presence is no longer there to comfort him, support him, or make his life easier. And in that silence, he begins to realize what he lost. Sometimes silence hurts more than words ever could. Ignoring creates space for reflection. In that space, he starts thinking about all the little things you used to do, all the ways you showed love, all the times you stood by him when no one else did. He begins to understand that what he had was rare. But by that time, you are no longer the same person. You have grown. You have healed. You have become stronger. This journey is not easy. Ignoring someone you once loved deeply takes strength. Your heart will want to reach out. Your emotions will try to pull you back. Memories will remind you of the good times. But remember, you did not walk away because you stopped loving. You walked away because you were no longer being loved the way you deserve. Every time you choose silence instead of reacting, you build emotional power. Every time you resist the urge to explain yourself, you protect your dignity. Every time you choose yourself, you take one step closer to healing. You begin to rediscover your worth, your confidence, and your inner peace. When you stop chasing someone who takes you for granted, you open the door for someone who will truly value you. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow. If you allow disrespect, neglect, and emotional pain, people will continue to give you exactly that. But when you set boundaries, when you stand firm, when you walk away from what hurts you, you send a clear message: I know my worth. Ignoring is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. It takes courage to let go. It takes bravery to choose peace over emotional chaos. And it takes wisdom to understand that not everyone deserves access to your heart. The power of ignoring transforms you. It helps you grow. It helps you mature. It teaches you patience, emotional control, and self-respect. You stop depending on someone else for validation and start finding it within yourself. You become whole, confident, and emotionally independent. And when you reach that level of self-worth, you no longer beg to be chosen. You no longer fear being alone. You no longer tolerate being taken for granted. You understand that your value does not decrease because someone fails to see it. Your worth remains constant, strong, and unbreakable. You deserve a love that is consistent, respectful, and genuine. You deserve someone who shows up, not just when it is convenient, but when it truly matters. You deserve peace, happiness, and emotional safety. And until that kind of love finds you, choose yourself. Protect your heart, guard your energy, and never forget how powerful you truly are. Let me be real with you for a moment. Too many people fail to see what they have until it's gone. Too many men take women for granted, thinking their love, loyalty, and patience will always be there, no matter how poorly they treat it. But here's the truth: silence reveals your true value. And it is in silence that people finally start to see who you really are. You see, when you constantly speak, explain yourself, justify your feelings, or chase someone who does not appreciate you, your worth becomes invisible. They get so used to your presence that they stop noticing all the things that make you special. Your love becomes ordinary, your care becomes expected, and your patience becomes a weakness in their eyes. When you talk too much or over-explain your value, the effect is the opposite of what you want. People stop paying attention because they think your energy is unlimited. That is why silence is so powerful. Silence forces them to look at what they had and realize it is gone. When you step back, when you stop calling, when you stop reacting, when you stop giving all your energy away to someone who doesn't see it, suddenly they start noticing the empty space you left behind. And it is in that space that they begin to understand the depth of your value. Your absence becomes a mirror reflecting what they've lost. Silence is a statement. It says, without words, I am more than your convenience. I am not here to be taken for granted. I know my worth, and I will not settle for less. And when they finally see it, it hits them in a way that no argument, no explanation, no lecture ever could. Silence carries weight. Silence commands attention. Silence shows strength, dignity, and self-respect. The beauty of silence is that it protects you too. It stops you from being drained emotionally. It stops you from begging for recognition and respect. Instead of wasting your energy on someone who cannot appreciate you, you redirect it toward yourself, toward your growth, your healing, and your peace. That is where true power lies. People often think that silence means weakness, that walking away or holding back shows fear. But real power comes from restraint, from choosing when to speak and when to let your absence do the talking for you. And here's something else that is important: silence also teaches lessons. Some people only learn through experience. Words can be ignored, promises can be broken, but absence is undeniable. When someone realizes that the person they took for granted is no longer available to tolerate disrespect, they are forced to confront the reality of their behavior. They see the value of the love they neglected. They feel the weight of what they lost. And in that moment, the lesson becomes clear, not because you taught it with words, but because your silence revealed it. Silence is not about being cold. It is not about punishing them. It is about showing that your heart is precious and not to be treated lightly. It is about showing that you will not chase anyone who does not recognize your worth. It is about choosing yourself over someone else's inability to appreciate you. In silence, you regain control. In silence, you reclaim your dignity. In silence, you allow your true value to shine in a way that words could never achieve. So understand this, the power of silence is unmatched. It is subtle but strong, quiet but undeniable. It shows people who you are without you ever having to explain it. And most importantly, it reminds you who you are, a person worthy of love, respect, and appreciation, and someone whose value cannot be diminished by anyone else's ignorance. Sometimes people think that talking, explaining, or begging for love will make someone see your value. But the truth is, words can be ignored. Words can be dismissed. Words can be forgotten. People often hear what they want to hear and ignore the rest. That is why your absence becomes one of the most powerful lessons anyone can ever experience. When you stop being available to someone who took you for granted, when you stop giving them your time, attention, and energy, something remarkable happens. Suddenly, they are forced to confront reality. They are forced to feel the space you left behind. And it is in that space that they begin to understand what they lost. Your presence had a weight, a warmth, and a consistency that they grew comfortable with. They counted on you being there no matter what. But when you remove that, they realize that nothing in their life fills that void. You can try to explain it to them until your voice gets tired, but no words have the same impact as your absence. Absence speaks louder than explanations. Absence makes them feel the consequences of neglect. Absence forces them to reflect on how they treated someone who genuinely cared for them. When you step back, you are not punishing them. You are teaching without confrontation. You are showing them, without saying a single word, the value of loyalty, love, and attention. You are demonstrating that respect cannot be demanded or forced. It must be earned and reciprocated. Your absence creates clarity, not just for them, but for you. It allows you to see who really values you and who only pretends to. It allows you to regain your own perspective and reclaim your emotional power. Many people underestimate the lesson that absence teaches. Some think that if you stop giving, if you stop trying, they will simply move on and forget you. But the truth is, absence creates space for reflection, for realization, and for remorse. It is the natural mirror of your worth. While words can be forgotten actions, or in this case, the lack of them, cannot be overlooked, your absence becomes a living reminder of what was once there and what could have been lost forever. Absence also teaches self-discipline. It forces you to stop reacting to pain, to stop chasing validation, and to stop being drawn into situations where your value is ignored. It empowers you to choose yourself first, to protect your heart, and to preserve your peace. By stepping away, you show that you are not dependent on someone else's recognition for your self-worth. You teach them that love and attention are not unlimited commodities. They are gifts that must be valued and cherished. And here's the most important thing: your absence will awaken the person to the reality of their actions. They will begin to see the little things they took for granted. The messages you sent, the time you gave, the care you showed. They will realize that what they treated as ordinary was actually extraordinary. They will feel the emptiness left by your departure in a way that no explanation, argument, or confrontation ever could. Absence forces the heart to recognize loss, and recognition is the first step toward understanding. Your absence does not mean you are cold or uncaring. It means you are strong. It means you value yourself enough not to tolerate being treated as optional. It means you understand that respect cannot be demanded. It must be given freely, or it is not respect at all. And when someone finally sees what they lost, it is not because you lectured them, begged them, or pleaded with them. It is because your absence taught them in a language their heart could not ignore. The lesson your absence gives is timeless. You cannot force love, respect, or appreciation. You can only show it through your presence. And when it is not valued, stepping away becomes the ultimate teacher. Silence, distance, and absence reveal truths that words could never convey, and in that revelation lies the power to transform both you and the person who failed to see your worth. Let me tell you something that most people don't want to hear. Chasing someone who does not value you will never make them love you. No matter how much effort you put in, no matter how many times you show up, no matter how many sacrifices you make, it will never be enough if they are not willing to see your worth. The more you chase, the more they get used to your presence. The more they take it for granted. The more they believe they don't have to try. Chasing keeps you stuck, trapped in a cycle where your love is cheapened, your value is ignored, and your heart is constantly at risk of being hurt. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you start choosing yourself. And choosing yourself is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you can ever do. It is saying to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that your happiness, your peace, and your self-respect are non-negotiable. It is realizing that you cannot control someone else's feelings or actions, but you can control your own choices. You cannot force someone to appreciate you, but you can choose to protect your heart from those who do not. You cannot make someone love you, but you can love yourself enough to walk away when it is clear they cannot. When you start choosing yourself, everything changes. You stop begging for attention, approval, or affection. You stop justifying your feelings. You stop lowering your standards for someone who is unwilling to rise to meet them. You begin to understand that your time, energy, and emotional investment are precious, and they should never be wasted on someone who treats them lightly. Every moment you spend chasing someone who doesn't value you is a moment stolen from your own growth, your own healing, and your own happiness. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. It is about creating boundaries that protect your emotional health. It is about recognizing that love should be reciprocal, not one-sided. It is about standing firm in your worth, even when the world tells you to compromise, to tolerate disrespect, or to settle for less than you deserve. When you choose yourself, you teach everyone around you a valuable lesson, that your heart is not a playground, your love is not free, and your respect cannot be bought with empty words. It is not always easy to stop chasing. Your heart wants what it wants. Your emotions want to hold on. Memories remind you of the good times, and fear whispers that you might never find someone else. But choosing yourself means trusting that letting go is the beginning of something greater. It means believing that the right person will never require chasing, that love should flow naturally, and that peace should never feel like a struggle. Choosing yourself is the path to freedom from disappointment, from anxiety, and from unreciprocated love. When you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, your energy changes. You become magnetic. You become grounded. You become confident in a way that is impossible to ignore. People begin to see you differently because you see yourself differently. The wrong people fall away naturally because they cannot keep up with the strength, independence, and self-respect you now embody. And the right people notice, not because you are trying to impress them, but because your worth shines through without effort. Choosing yourself also teaches resilience. It teaches that happiness is not dependent on someone else's recognition. It teaches that love is not about control, manipulation, or desperation. It is about mutual respect, appreciation, and effort. It teaches that the only person you can truly rely on for validation is yourself, and that is a lesson that lasts a lifetime. When you choose yourself, you no longer fear being alone. You no longer settle for less than you deserve. You no longer allow someone else's inability to see your value to dictate your peace. The power of choosing yourself is transformative. It changes the way you see relationships, the way you see love, and the way you see yourself. It turns heartbreak into strength, disappointment into wisdom, and absence into clarity. The moment you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, you step into a life where your value is recognized, your heart is protected, and your peace becomes unshakable. Distance is one of the most powerful tools you can ever give yourself when someone has taken you for granted. It might feel scary at first, stepping back, pulling away, and creating space between you and someone who has been a big part of your life. Your heart may ache, your mind may panic, and your emotions may scream for you to reach out, to explain, to fix things. But distance is not punishment, and it is not abandonment. Distance is clarity. Distance is strength. Distance is the bridge between being undervalued and understanding your true worth. When you are too close to someone who doesn't appreciate you, it's easy to lose perspective. You start making excuses for their behavior, justifying the way they treat you, and minimizing your own pain. You convince yourself that if you try harder, love harder, or forgive more, they will finally see your value. But the truth is, closeness often blinds us to reality. It keeps us trapped in patterns of hope, disappointment, and endless emotional labor. That's why stepping away is so crucial. It allows you to see things as they really are, not as you wish them to be. Distance gives you space to think clearly without the constant noise of their presence. When you are removed from the daily interactions, the games, and the manipulation, you can finally evaluate the relationship honestly. You can ask yourself the tough questions. Am I being valued? Am I being respected? Am I being treated the way I deserve? And when you answer honestly, you begin to realize that some people will never meet you at your level, no matter how much you give. Distance brings clarity by showing you what is true, not what is convenient or comfortable. Distance also strengthens you emotionally. When you pull back, you learn to rely on yourself for comfort, validation, and peace. You stop depending on someone else to make you feel worthy. You stop looking to them for happiness that they are unwilling or unable to provide. And in that self-reliance, you build resilience. You discover that you are stronger than you ever imagined, that your heart can heal, and that your peace is more important than constant conflict or neglect. Distance transforms pain into power because it forces you to face your feelings head on without distraction or avoidance. The beauty of distance is that it often forces the other person to confront reality too. When someone who has taken you for granted realizes you are no longer constantly available, they start to notice the absence. Your silence, your space, and your lack of energy become impossible to ignore. Suddenly, they see what they lost, what they ignored, and what they may never get back. Distance teaches lessons in ways that words cannot, because it allows people to feel the consequences of their actions firsthand. It is a mirror reflecting your value that no argument or explanation could ever match. Distance is not about creating drama or revenge. It is about creating boundaries. It is about protecting your emotional energy from people who fail to respect it. It is about stepping back so you can step into your own life fully. When you give yourself distance, you give yourself permission to grow, to heal, and to focus on the people, opportunities, and experiences that actually appreciate your presence. You start to understand that you do not need anyone's validation to be whole. You do not need someone's attention to be happy. You do not need their approval to feel worthy. The strength that comes from distance cannot be overstated. It allows you to reclaim control over your heart, your emotions, and your choices. It allows you to stop reacting impulsively to neglect and start responding intentionally with self-respect. And it allows you to see clearly that the right people, the people who truly value you, will never require distance to understand your worth. They will recognize it immediately and honor it consistently.